and then all right, the theme song.
Okay. All right. Now can you hear me?
Make sure, yeah, can you hear that music?
No, not really. But I can hear you clear though.
Yeah, but you don't hear any music?
Nah,
No.
nah.
Okay. Never mind. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
All right. So I just been getting a text like in the last 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes max, and I swear I wish I could do a screen share about Kamala Harris has been nominated as Joe Biden's.
Vice President. Yeah, I did see that.
So is this something that I'm just catching wind of or what?
I mean, it happened. It broke today. I mean,
Okay, now I know you told me it's self proclaimed. If you fail, you will fall left. Now, what are your thoughts
right.
on that?
I mean, I think she was the most pop. Well, he painted himself in the corner, and it was really stupid. Which it wouldn't be the first thing that he did stupid. Of course, it's stupid thing.
Yeah.
107 on the list. But he's like, He said, I'm gonna pick a female running mate, and preferably a person of color.
A
And that,
person of color. Remember when we didn't want to be called color people? Remember that? But go ahead. Go ahead. I'm listening. Yeah. So a person of color. Go ahead.
yeah. So I mean, he painted himself in the corner, and personally, I would never have done that because then it's just like now she's an affirmative action pick. You should just pick. I'm going to pick the best qualified person in my opinion, and then maybe with doors closed. Okay, we need a female running mate, preferably a black one. But do but say that behind closed doors. You know what I'm saying? Don't come out on
Are you
TV.
cool with that?
What? Am I cool
Are
with?
you cool with the whole symbology or the whole symbolism
I mean,
of?
it don't bother me honestly. It bothers me in the sense. It bothers me in the sense of. I wish he didn't say that because now it's like more ammunition for like people who speak out against affirmative action. It's like she's only there.
Oh man, and I know we're having like a intelligent conversation.
Yeah,
You know, so
allegedly.
well, yeah, alleged. But the fact that something as stupid as this enters into intelligent topics
Yeah,
is like unreal to me, dude. Unreal to me.
dude. The last.
Literally, this is literally what people are saying. This is literally what people are saying. I wish I could do a screen share because I want you to see this. And I'm like, are you even like thinking about what you're saying?
Yeah.
They're telling me that, well, we're gonna get a sister to clean up. Okay. Now, at first, us being in the mammy role was a bad thing. You remember that? At first,
That was going to
now,
be my follow up question. What do you mean, or what do they mean when they say clean up? Like clean up corruption, clean up
no,
Biden's mess, like where
to
he's being
clean up
seen now.
the person who hired her, the mess he made with comments that he has said as far as
Uh,
like,
uh,
oh, don't worry about it. A sister gonna come in with that good mop, and man, she gonna spit shine it like you ain't never tell nobody been in here. And I'm like, well, I thought that this was all about going forward and this and that. No, man, you know how we do it. It gonna be clean. It gonna be man. That sister gonna come in there, and I'm like, okay, I mean, are y'all serious about anything that y'all saying? Or are you listening to what you're saying? You get what I'm saying?
yeah.
Kamala Harris, dude, like
Are these
if you
like
were to
are
go
these
ahead, go
like
ahead.
message boards you were looking at, or are these like
No,
people
no,
you've really been in contact with?
no, these are literal text messages. I wish I
Okay.
could like do a screen share, so therefore it would bring reality and some authenticity to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
These are people's real life feelings. You get what I'm saying? They're sitting here telling me that a sister, in air quotes, is gonna come in and clean up, in another air quotes, the mess he's made, and she's one step away from being the president. I said, well, did she get approval from her white husband? Did she get that approval? Since Kamala Harris is supposed to be so woke and this and this, dude. I miss sports. I'm a sports fan. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? This is better than sports. You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
This is no doubt better than like U of L UK it's the year of clear vision. It's 2020. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the year where everything becomes clear, man. And I'm sitting here looking at like, you really think Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, and I'm not saying this as any type of partisan comment because I'm not a registered, I promise you, I'm not saying
Okay.
this, like me and you had spoke on the phone, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I had like expressed my sentiment that a heterosexual black male has no spot in the now quote unquote Democratic Party. The Democratic Party that I grew up on and what we knew from like 20 years ago when Bush beat Gore, this is not that party, man. We are in 2020 where it has a whole nother connotation to it. And I'm like, all right, okay, cool. You think it's gonna work out? Let's go ahead and let it play out. Let's go ahead and see like which way does this go?
Okay, it's a lot to unpack here. You're saying that so let me ask you this. Do you think Kamala Harris is intelligent?
No. Well, okay, let me say this. Okay, let me say this. I don't want to insult someone to the part to where like everything she's done in life to put herself in position is not quality. So I want to say that like the questions kind of set me up for a personal attack, and I'm like, nah, I'm not here to do that.
Okay, so it's a genuine question.
Well, what I'm saying is, I'm like, I have no idea what you think this is going to put you above with a choice like Kamala Harris. To me, this is pure symbolism and wokeness out of control.
I'm not even there yet. I'm just like, can we agree that she's intelligent?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
we might, we might disagree on whether she's a genuine person or whether she.
Wait a minute. What qualifies her intelligence in your opinion? Like, what makes her intelligent?
I mean, basic IQ, college degree, um, field experience in an executive branch or an executive role. You know, is she a good speaker? Can she look at a problem and solve it reasonably?
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
So go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, it's a low bar.
Yeah.
This
So
is a
I'm
low
just
bar.
like the whole is someone intelligent. I'm not trying to say that she's this, but I mean, we all know, we do understand as far as like connections. I'm not saying that she lived off connections,
Right.
but we do understand that, this is a whole nother game where intelligence does not qualify you to where
Apparently.
Well, I mean, okay, the George Bush Jr., which all liberals love now, would you call him intelligent?
To be a president, if I'm being quite honest, okay, like you said, it does kind of set you up to be insulting, and I don't want to be insulting, but is he articulate? No, or I don't know how he is now, but I don't think he's articulate. Is he? Is he intelligent in terms of like looking at a complicated economy and seeing like what policies are going to set up America? George Bush was a figurehead. He was I would almost say a purely symbolic president. Cheney ran the White House, and his cabinet ran the White House. He would come out and he'd make speeches, and he made good speeches. Like, I think it was, looking back, I'm glad he was there on 9/11. He came out and he said the right things. He didn't divide the country. He came out and he had a message for one America. It's like, hey, they're not going to get away with this. We're in this
So you
together.
don't believe that presidents have speech writers? Like, you actually believe they go out there and just speak?
Oh, absolutely not. Of course they have speech writers, but what is Trump's excuse for not going on and just following the script?
But I'm just saying, as far as like, yet again, but
and I hate that I have to bring it back to Trump. But I really hate it, because if we're not even talking about him, but you just asked a question like, do I think president has speech writers? In that case, it should be really easy to go out there and read a speech, right, and just stay on script, and not put your foot in your mouth.
Yeah, right? Which would disqualify Biden totally.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, no argument at all. Yeah. At all. Yeah. I don't even know, like, forget reading the speech. Like, who even said, okay, let's go on TV today? Like,
did you even practice on, if certain questions are asked, how to answer it? Did we even practice it? So forget a speech. Did we
Yeah.
even think about like, okay, things to stay away from if they ask you this? If you're asked this, things to stay on topic of. So we're
How
not even
about
talking about a speech. We're just giving like fundamental ideology.
how about let's not go live? how about let's let's have a couple of takes.
But
Let's
doesn't
get
that like
comfortable.
demean the credentials if we don't want to go live? Doesn't that then
Oh,
demean like
dude, I've been saying this for the last, I don't know, since we found out he was the nominee. How did he end up the nominee?
I
I
totally
don't
agree with you.
I don't get it. Like I just don't get it. We had a field full of excellent candidates, young,
Yeah.
vibrant, bringing fresh ideas to the table candidates, and yet people by default voted for Biden. Like,
No, you know what? I'll tell you what, it's a bit deeper than that. Biden being associated with Obama, which is what I've been trying to explain for the longest of time,
yeah,
that Obama is going to be the one that basically split the Democratic Party and actually it really demolished it. His connection to Obama as far as funding, because he was the vice president of Obama, and we're going to make anything that's connected to Obama just as good as Obama. That's how he got the funding. So as far as like people voting, dude, they're following the money, and that would be the marketing of Joe Biden is way ahead of everybody else. I totally agree with you. There are far better liberal Democratic candidates than Joe Biden. Joe Biden has the Obama connection to where
yeah.
basically we're going to continue the wave of Obama. And this is where it's going to be. And people forget this is Obama's right hand man. So I mean, it's very difficult. It's almost impossible to separate. Well, yeah, he says something bad. I'm like, well, you do know this is who you look at as far as like being the next Messiah. That's his right hand man right here.
What do you mean being the next Messiah?
Well, as far and this is like in an informal way of like describing Barack Obama would be the next Messiah. And like super wokety wokes and blackety blacks. Oh my God, they love this whole if Jesus picture ain't in there, just put up Obama. You know what I'm
You,
saying?
could you imagine if you're white and like reading this, or even if
No,
like
I mean,
if we took a transcript of this speech and it's like I can't believe.
and honestly, and this is where I do feel bad for white people because they don't
Yeah,
have the luxury of saying what I can say freely.
yeah.
I do feel bad for white people in that sense because I can say everything I'm saying in a very free manner. So in this position that I do
Blackity
have, which is
blacks.
wokety wokes,
Blackity
blackety
blacks.
black,
I could say wokeity
um,
wokes, but blackity blacks.
oh my God. Like, they're like way out there of,
Oh,
when Black Panther came out, it means that now black people
oh,
have something to believe in. And I'm like, really? I'm like, I love Black Panther, the movie, but how fat the way that these wokes took Black Panther was on a whole nother level. I'm like, whoa, chill. That's a you job. That's not Marvel Comics to do that. That's a you job. It's
what
like,
is?
no, and I love Black Panther. I do. I
Yeah,
love Black Panther. But I'm just saying, as far as like being quote unquote woke,
yeah.
where like we're just committed to this thought process of blindly this, and I'm like, dude, no, that's not gonna work, man. I promise you, that's not gonna work. And I'm just saying, as far as a person, and now you're my first cousin. You know what I'm saying? We
Mm,
grew up together for a large part. We remember a lot of memories. You know
allegedly.
me. Well, no, we do.
I was just saying,
No,
yeah.
we do. But I'm just saying, as far as like, I'm telling you from like my standpoint in my adult life, and within like, seeing enough things to kind of like come to a true formed opinion
Yeah,
about things. These
yeah.
wokes, I'm like, bro, that's not going to work for you, bro. I had an African medallion and all that when I was in school. And I now look back on that as far, and I'm not mad because I was a kid, you know what I'm saying? But I'm looking
Yeah.
at world now with, having a family and working and, building a real community and, just different things or whatnot. Then I'm like, dude, the way that liberals have taken the party, I'm like, bro, that's not going to work out for you. I promise you. That is a mood. And I also know that I'm like, dude, they're playing on your emotions. I promise you, they know you're emotional. They know when you go to church, you're more likely to dance and cry. You're far more emotional than these other groups. You're not thinking. And I'm not saying you.
No,
I'm just
no.
saying as far as, yeah, no, I'm not, I would never say you.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is the woke demographic. I'm like,
well,
dude,
my only
they're getting
argument
you
with
every time.
my only argument against that is I don't disagree with you, but I think it's equal on both sides. I think
Oh yeah.
it's more subtle on the right side. So I think you're kind of doing black people a disservice by saying,
Whoa, wait a
well,
minute. Hold on. Whoa, wait a minute. Whoa. It's more
okay,
subtle on which side?
on the conservative side,
So what is MAGA?
make America great again. Maybe? Yeah,
What is Trump known or by narrative? What is Trump like supposed to be? And you're
yeah,
telling me that like it's more right. You definitely have like the right side, if nothing else. And I'm not even a conservative. It's
yeah,
far more well known, pronounced their radicalism, which does
right,
exist, which
right,
definitely does exist. But you
yeah,
think that like I'm not even gonna mention like Antifa because you have to be in politics to really understand that. But I would
yeah,
even say as far as like Black Lives Matter and radicals and that I mean like they've now infiltrated the whole Black Power movement.
mm-hmm.
The liberals, white liberals have totally infiltrated it. And it's so much as far as like black people just wanting this big hug. I've always said that. I'm like, as much as they claim they hate white people, in our reality, they just want that hug. In our reality, that's all they want. I promise you, it's true. If you have like, dude, if my pops and I'm just gonna go ahead and go there. I'm gonna go ahead and
Oh,
go there.
hey,
All
we're being
right.
recorded. I'm gonna release this. So whatever
Okay,
you
now,
say.
well, I'm just gonna be real with you. And I
Okay.
love my father. I'm a junior. I look like I have his name, but I'm being real with you. The only reason I'm saying this is not to slander him, but I'm talking about a generation of people. So I'm using my father as a example, not to slander him. But
Okay.
if you was to have Donald Trump go down Dumanel and knock on 17, well, I ain't gonna say the address, knock on the door or sit on grandmama's porch, our
Yeah.
grandma,
Uh-huh.
you tell me that he would not put on his best clothes and everything. The thing is that they want, as much as they claim they hate him, they want that hug. They mean so much to them. You see what I'm saying? I don't look at Trump in that type of demagogue type of person. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I do understand the fact that he's not an average person because he's the president of the U.S. I don't look at
Right.
Obama as an average person. This ain't no just somebody got up at 8 o'clock. This
There's
is a
a
former president.
there's a meme going around of it's a Hispanic meme of a guy. He's a chubby Hispanic dude with a shirt off like this, like scratching his back, and he's going up to Trump. He's like, "Where's my next check at, man?" But he's saying it in Spanish. It's real funny. So that's what it reminded me of that when you was like, "You're gonna put on a suit and go out and meet the president." Of course you're gonna put on a.
Dude,
Of course you're gonna put on a suit and go out and
I
meet the
mean,
president. And I,
as
and I,
much as they claim that he ain't my president, that's another woke
mhm,
term. I'm like, dude,
yeah.
that don't even make sense.
I mean,
You know,
I understand. I understand the sentiment, because he did not win the popular vote, and our system's kind of messed up. You can agree with it when it goes your way if you want to, but something is wrong when we have a president that the majority of Americans did not vote for. They voted against. I mean,
but where were you at in 2000?
saying the same thing, saying the exact
No,
same thing.
and I
Yeah,
totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. I'm
yeah,
not here to like dispute that.
yeah.
And I would even go a step further than that. The fact that like Donald Trump is going up against whatever we got going on, and I'm going to include Trump in that. It go to show how social media and the way that we interpret news has
Mm-hmm.
been way too far. And I would put Trump in that. The fact that like a person who's never held a political office in his life, at least Reagan, who was a former actor, was a governor at some
Right.
point. So I would even put Trump into that conversation. The fact that like someone who hosted, what was a show that he hosted or he was on?
Where he was the boss and firing people. What are you talking about?
Yeah, the fact that like
Yeah.
someone who has just, been known for business and he was on NBC
Mm-hmm.
is now the president of the US. It go
The
to show
Apprentice.
really,
That's what it was.
yeah. The apprentice has now
Yeah.
become the president of the United States. I agree that like it's really a scope of not parties, but just as a society, how we have devolved.
Oh yeah.
We have definitely regressed. And a lot of people expect, and I'm going to say it, dude, especially black people, we don't understand regression. We don't understand the fact that like everything in the future or anything that's new is not always better. There are times, dude, I tell you what, like real shit. I have a refrigerator that I didn't even recognize was built in 2000, right?
Okay.
And I had to get it fixed. And the person that actually repaired my refrigerator said, "Oh man, this is the fridge that has these. Like the new refrigerators, they don't last but like this amount of time." You know, I look back at certain cars that I used to think were just like the dopest thing when they were brand new. And I realize now they're total lawnmower pieces of shit. You know, do you know like, and I'm not trying like to digress, like the PT Cruiser was the car of the year. Do you can damn near
Yeah.
get that for like for $2,000. Everything that's new is not always better. And we do not understand that. I'm like, there are certain steps that we're going in that
Yeah.
honestly is a step back and it's not going to last like the way, hell, even like new houses, like, you know, you look at grandma and like my pop's house, like my pop's house is damn near 100 years old. You cannot build a
His
house
house.
today.
His house
Go
is
ahead.
his house is about 100 years old.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I know grandma's as well is within 100 years old. They survived the flood of '48, the Great Flood, um, all these different things at the elements, but the house is still standing. Where you cannot,
Yeah.
these new houses will not last that long. There's no way a house today in 2020 is going to last 100 years. There's no way. The materials are just not made like that anymore. So, kind of getting to my point, we don't understand like when everything is new is not better. I'm like, dude, no, this is not going to last. This is not going to last, dude. I'm just saying, like, straight up. And I'm just saying, as far as like the Democratic Party, people
Hmm.
don't understand as far as like how Obama, they put all their apples and they got a rock star straight up. But I'm like, yeah, ultimately that's going to end up being the end of you too.
Well, I think we got some revisionist history because if you remember Obama's first time, he was not who the establishment wanted. It was Hillary Clinton's time in 2008, and Obama kind of came out of nowhere and just kind of stole the show. He was a media darling for sure, like he was the media's pick, but he was not the establishment's pick. Um, and two, he was also, if you remember, he wasn't as I know you kind of take issue with him because of his embracement of like the LGBTQ community and like the kind of co-opted his platform. If you remember, what he that was like one of their hangups with him was did he was not progressive enough for that community when he first came into office. I mean, sure it was by the time he left. He came to embrace that community a lot more, and I mean, I think that's more a sign of just the times changing. You know,
Right.
would you become exposed to how much I don't want to say persecution necessarily that community goes through, but just how much they have to endure. It is more than the average person. Now, with that being said, nobody knows you're a homosexual until you tell them, pretty much.
I was gonna
So,
say like, well, where do you
yeah.
get? Well, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go
So,
ahead.
so I mean, I know I understand the counterpoint that it's not the same as being black. It's not the same as being a woman or whatever. You know, because you kind of have to disclose that before you can be persecuted or whatever, or it has to come out. But I
Right.
mean, it still is. It still does happen. I mean, I think we can all agree about that, right? So I understand
Yeah,
them. I understand them becoming mobilized and doing what they did to an extent. But I think they went a little bit overboard, if we're being honest.
well, and you can thank Obama for that. And I would
Yeah,
also attribute a lot of Obama's rise to power was during the rise of social media.
yeah,
This is like around like 2008. You have someone that's young, black, well spoken. Hillary, number one, is a bad candidate, and John McCain was a worse candidate. So he beat John McCain and Mitt Romney. Okay. So
yeah,
these aren't like two stellar. I'm not trying to say that like, John McCain, I know he's been a governor since the 90s, like out in Arizona, and Hillary's been a senator for a while, and she's also a former first lady. So I'm not saying that this is no one. But
right.
I'm also saying that like they're bad, they're weak candidates. Like
Electability.
yeah, they're very weak, you know.
Yeah, very
I
weak.
mean, and even and I do agree with you that Mitt Romney, is a better candidate right now than like a lot of options going around. I think Mitt
Yeah,
Romney honestly would be a stronger candidate based on credentials than even Trump.
either side, either side.
Yeah, no,
He could,
I totally
yeah.
agree with you. But with that being said, man, um, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, if that does not indicate what I have been saying, that the Democratic Party right now is at a crossroads, and I'm like, dude, right now they're looking at like a long way of like getting obliterated.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. I would say both sides as a whole, we're kind of a leaderless country right now.
Yeah,
We're
I agree with that.
we're kind of we don't have a strong moral center right now on either
Yeah,
side, um, and both sides are kind of fighting for identity. And we We got the ultra right is fighting the middle side of conservatism, who's fighting the moderate side, and the same thing is happening on the left. And I think we're going to see a big shift completely between both parties, where the center is going to be. Where is it going to
I
slide to
agree
the
with
right,
that.
or is it going
I
to
do
slide
agree
to the
with that.
left? I have no idea, but it is a shift is coming, and
No, I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. I think you hit it dead
yeah,
in the center. I think on
yeah,
both sides you're going to see like the apricot of like both parties is not going to be what we grew up on. You
right,
know,
right,
I think that, and I would say that as far as liberals, because even in myself and as far as like my family or whatever, been staunch Democrats just because they're Democrats. I've always viewed Republicans as racist, Klan members,
yeah.
wealthy, um,
But they gave us a
don't
lot
really
of
want to.
ammunition to think that, though. I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean, well, just
yeah,
growing up, I mean, you hear about like David Duke, you look at, the
oh yeah,
wealth, but then you got to look at it though this way. Now, I'm a Gen Xer, and I know that
right,
you're like, I'm a Gen X, I'm a younger Gen Xer. I know that you're like an older millennial. You know what I'm
right,
saying? We can both agree that like the wealth gap has shrunk between races to where like
yeah,
now blacks kind of now understand. Now, I would say Gen Xers are like the big time entrepreneurs. We wanted to work for ourselves. We had enough faith in order to start our own. Millennials as well. They wanted to do their own. So we're not cooped up into like, neighborhoods that are segregated. We have all kind of like now expound to where we kind of see society at large. You know what I'm
mm-hmm.
saying? A lot more of us has now went to universities, whatever that wherever that may be. So we're more exposed to like a more functional, well, I hate to use the word a functional part of society, but we're not as just secluded to a segment like your mom and like just like my dad, to where they were all in Central High School and they only saw that part. You get what I'm saying? We've
Right,
all been in like different hell, we have a cousin who went to Paris, Rashana went out to Paris and whatnot. Hell, dude, we travel the country, we travel the world, we see more. So our thought process is different. So if you look at like going back to your point and why I totally agree with you, as far as the apricot of both parties has changed, because now I now see as far as like beyond what I was told, and that would just be like Democrats good, Republicans hate, they hate niggas. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? It's not that simple. It's not that simple. You know what I'm saying?
But
Also
at a
now even
time,
go ahead.
but at a certain time in history, I don't know when. You could probably argue the '90s at some point. There's a lot of evidence to believe that. I mean, if you look at
Um,
Ronald Reagan's campaign manager, he pretty much said, "Okay, this is our blueprint to win in the South. We're going to change a lot of our racist tones to racist undertones."
No,
Reagan,
totally.
yeah,
Yeah, no, totally. No. I'm not saying it like that there was no reason to believe that sentiment. But I
yeah,
think now within like the information age, you know what I'm saying? Like, for
mhm,
example, I'm on my phone right now. We're talking live. You know what I'm saying? We
yeah,
can pull up information on both sides. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like COINTELPRO,
right.
or we look going back to Lyndon Johnson, you know what I'm saying, who was a starch liver, who was the president after JFK was assassinated. We see things that he also endorsed that really, really didn't help out. Hell, Bill Clinton with like the three strike laws, and you look at
Oh
like
wow,
the whole privatization of jail. It's
yeah.
not as cut and dry as Democrats are good,
Oh,
Republicans are
definitely,
bad. We
definitely not.
now have like a more of a scope, and we're now more well informed of
Yeah,
like, wait a minute, it ain't just one.
but I think our argument is coming from you think that a lot of African Americans are going shifting to the Republican because of Obama, and I think it's kind of more so in spite of. I think that party has changed overall for the better in spite of Trump. I don't think it's because of Obama. I don't think it's because of Trump that African Americans are going to that party. I think there's more room in that party now because from that old guard has died off. Where there before it was so repulsive to African Americans, there really wasn't any room for us in that party.
I agree to a extent. I don't really think it's just that simple. I do think that I look at someone as myself. It's the first time, and I'm a registered independent.
Right.
I would agree with you to an extent. I don't really think it's just more so because Trump's in office and people love Trump. I think more so, and I would just say heterosexual black males, and that's not to shame any person that identifies otherwise. But
Right.
I would say that heterosexual black males that we now kind of look at like a lot of rhetoric that has been put out there from the left or whatnot. We're looking at like who is also attaining leadership. And we're not seeing like, wait a minute, like we're basically, this is something that we've been committed to like all our lives. We were told that you all are good, and now we're seeing that like when it comes to leadership, and we're not being represented in any fashion. Actually, we're being demeaned by the party. They've totally like, dude, did not leave a seat for us, like at all. You know what I'm saying? So even like with the Black Lives Matter, I look at this going on, and I'm like, dude, even the people who are the spokespeople, the spokespersons for Black Lives Matter, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, like none of us, unless you're a homosexual or a major simp, is the only way you're going to get a voice within that or whatnot. It's beyond now black and white. Now we're looking at like how genders have been split. As far as black women are now apart from like the black race. I mean, they're heading towards the part of like becoming like their own demographic. And I'm saying that on a public per se. I'm not saying it like in everyday life, but I look at like Generation Z and Generation Alpha. Well, what are they going to become seeing stuff like this? You know what I'm saying? So that's what I look at as far as like the future, as far as like, dude, there's no spot for us. So I take a lot of pride in being a part of the generation where change started to occur. And I'm like, no, when it came to this, and I'm not trying to say that anything conservative I'm voting for, but I do want to take part in the change as far as like the shift that we were discussing. I totally agree with you. I do want to be part of that shift as far as like, like our grandma was a registered Republican. Now, I'm pretty sure you know about that, and I'm not sure. But I do take pride in the fact that, like, as far as her children were part of the shift, like your mom and my dad, they were part of the shift to where, like, they're like Democrat, and they had a grip on us for like 50, really 60 years. I am now want to be part of the shift as far as like, wait a minute, let's expound our views on things to where I'm like, well, I'm not saying it just to be different. I'm saying that I can show reason and prove as far as like, no, I no longer was part of that. Like I couldn't. I didn't have a spot in this, and I don't want my kids to see things like that.
Yeah, don't man. Like I said, if Mitt Romney was running right now as a Republican, as an independent, whatever, I'd be very inclined to vote for him, especially given these three candidates. Like, so, I'm definitely, and I'm a registered Democrat, but
Right.
I'm open to the possibility of voting for somebody that has pretty much that matches my interests. And I think that's fair to say that's what we do.
Right.
A
Right.
lot of people sure there was a lot of people that voted for Trump because he said a lot of good things for racists, and that was like they were attracted to that. There's also a section of the population that voted for him because they thought he was better for the country, or at least he was better for their interests. And
Right. Right.
I wouldn't necessarily hold that against anybody, except don't say that one day that okay, you know, come out and say that I'm voting for him because he represents my interests, and don't belittle it when I say okay, but he's a danger to me and he's a danger to the Hispanic community, at least to the
That's fair.
Hispanic, the
That's very fair.
undocumented Hispanic community. You can't
Right.
have it both ways. Just be honest. Just like, hey,
Right. Right.
I'm either for all these undocumented people being deported, or I don't care enough to not vote for them.
And
You got
that's something that I need to
yeah,
do more research on, because I'll be honest, not until we spoke that I look into how that does affect like communities outside of just black and white. We live in a city that's just, well, within an area that's
yeah,
primarily just pretty much just black and white. So I saw things from Louisville eyes.
right,
But you had mentioned as far as like DACA and how that would affect you personally, and then I
yeah,
can understand like another perspective. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So I'm not this person. I'm not a MAGA person to where like, these are the people who don't understand policies. I just
yeah,
kind of troll them a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But we
yeah,
do speak on like a real level as far as like I can understand
yeah.
where you're coming from, and you are my family.
Yeah,
So
and
I
again,
do.
when I say you, I don't mean you. I'm saying,
Right.
I'm
Yeah, but
speaking as a
I
straw
mean,
man.
no, no,
Yeah,
no, I'm not like that. But that is my
yeah.
family. And when he had like explained the way that affects his family, which is my family as well, I could understand how like he has his druthers about, want to vote for Trump. But I think aside from that, the narrative about Trump is just this person who owns slave ships. And I'm like, dude,
No,
that's insane.
no. As a matter of fact, I would even venture to say he's racist, but he's just not racist against black people, and we're not used to that.
Now, how do you term Trump as racist? Just from like your own definition.
I mean, the things that he says that are racist.
Like what?
Um, the Mexicans that are coming over are rapists and drug dealers and killers, and I suppose some of them might be good people.
I
why
haven't
can't we
heard
get?
that statement, but
Oh,
is
that
that
was a
incorrect?
huge. That was
Yeah.
hell yeah, it's incorrect. How
I
can you
mean,
say
you telling
that?
me now I'm not going to accuse just
Yeah,
every person of Mexican descent or just Hispanic descent of that.
he just accused the vast majority. If you were gonna put a percentage on what he just said, how many people in a group, let's say out of 100, according to Trump, that are coming over here are coming over here to be rapists, drug dealers, and break the law?
Mm-hmm.
How many out of 100, according to Trump, according to those words he just said, how many would you say he thinks are here to break the law?
Well, I can't
I
answer
mean,
that because I have to see like the context
more
of
than
like what you're
50.
talking about.
You got to say more than 50 because you said the majority.
Well, no, I have to look at like what he actually said and
I'm
just look at
telling
like
you what he said. Okay, going off what I just said. If what I just said is what he said,
that's not fair, dude. That's not fair
why?
because that's
No,
not
hold
fair.
on, no,
I
wait.
mean, because
I can't let because this is intellectually dishonest. This is
yeah,
intellectually dishonest for you to
I'm
do
not
that.
being disingenuous at all. I'm not. And here's the reason why I say I can't just go by what you say.
I
We
will
have
pull it up.
literally
I will
watched
pull it
the
up.
same video and had a different interpretation of what was said. So I'm not
Yeah,
saying
we're
that
gonna get
like
a
you're
third. We're gonna watch it again. We're gonna watch that video again. We're gonna get a third person, like an impartial, because I understand like how two people can look at something and get a different
right,
interpretation,
right.
but I feel like we're watching two different things.
No, because I haven't seen the
I feel like
video.
we're
Like
factually
I have not seen
okay.
seen the video. I tell you what, I know we're going live, but I got to take a piss. You pull up the
Okay,
video.
I'm gonna send it to you because I gotta go anyway. It's actually Esmeralda and Valerie's birthday. You want to say hi,
Okay.
Valerie? Okay. Hold on, there's Valerie. Can you see her?
Hey, cousin.
Come here,
Let me see.
Okay. Oh.
Hey, what you up to? What you doing?
You hear? You said what are you doing? Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Now tell me how. Now how old are you? Let me see.
I'm 5.
Let me see 5.
Oh,
Let me see
yeah.
5.
Let me see. I don't want to be in a cage, Mr. Trump.
No, don't say that, dude. Don't say that.
I'm sorry. That's low. That's low, bro.
Don't say that, dude. Please don't say that.
Why,
Anyway,
John? Why?
dude, no, dude, don't say that. Cause that,
What? Come on,
don't say
John.
that. Don't say that,
What?
dude.
Why? What's
Anyway,
wrong? Am I lying? Am I
no, don't say
little
that.
girl
No,
just like her? Just like her,
say
John.
no.
Younger, John.
That's
Look
not
at her.
fair, dude. That's not fair. That's not fair, dude.
Okay.
That's not fair. And you're not supposed to say that. But anyway, man, I tell you what, go ahead and take care of your business, man, and comment just comment like whenever you're free.
All right.
I'll see you, Valerie.
Bye.